Now, your senior year, East Chicago Central had a lot of hype. They had a lot of skill positions on both sides of the ball, a lot of Division One talent. During that summer, your team went undefeated in the 7-on-7 camps. Played the best teams in the state, the Ben Davis, the Pens, best teams in Illinois. So we won by landslides. Now, what is your goals going into that season after dominating the 7-on-7?
At the time, I told my fullback, I don't care if I scored another touchdown. I wanted 2,000 yards passing. And when he looked at me, he laughed, and he was like, good, because, he wanted the ball a lot more. And I told him I was serious. I don't care if I don't score, but as long as I got 2,000 yards passing and we won, I didn't care what the outcome of it was. So as the season went on, we had two very hard losses. The thing is, our passing was up, but the thing is, our running wasn't as effective. And the thing is, I don't know if it was me or if I'll take the blame, but I wasn't running aggressive. I wasn't, being as selfish as I should have been on certain plays and whatnot. And then after those two losses, I had to bear down and I had to, get aggressive and take control of the game a little bit more, because the longer we had the ball, the better outcome of the game it would be. So I started running more. I started feeling more comfortable about the reads of who I'm not supposed to get the ball to, who I'm supposed to get the ball to. I got comfortable with the way that the line shifted when we were in certain offenses and going to certain plays.
Gotcha. During that season, we played a lot of tough teams. Kokomo, Terre Haute North, Ben Davis. What did Central, in your opinion, not have that held us back from being a dominant program like those programs?
Well, one, I would say childhood teaching. The thing is, I don't want to say Southern teams because we're kind of in, we're in the corner of the Indiana, but it's towards the southern regions that they teach their kids young. They put them in Pop Warner. They put them in Pee Wee. They put them in, junior high football, and they groom them to go to schools where they want them to be stars. They want them to be studs. They want their offensive linemen to look like pro athletes. And then the thing is, also certain schools recruit. Indianapolis has a open atmosphere where you can almost go to any school you want to once you go to Indianapolis.
Okay.
I felt things like that made our football program weak, but at the same time, for people that was just coming into a program, being a freshman and never playing football, putting on pads for the first time in their life, I felt we did great. I felt we played those teams tough. And if we would have had the training that they had when they were little, we would have blew them out easily. We would have 275-pound, linemen across the board. So I felt it was probably a size in some aspects, but in some aspects it was also coaching. Also coaching is big. We did the best we could for what we had, and I congratulate those coaches, because the wins we had, they should get patted on the back for the wins they had, and they should get their hands shook for the losses they had, because they did the best for what they had. But if you go to these other programs, you have your head coach who just sits back and watches, doesn't really teach. Then you have those coaches that actually teach the game to the people. Then they have their assistants, people who just go grab a ball and give it back to the quarterback. Things like that is what I wouldn't say small schools, but schools that are not in depth with sports like that, they get, and we didn't.
Okay. Now, towards the end of the season, you had three rushers over 600 yards rushing. You had 5 receivers over 20 catches. How did you, as the leader of the team, manage those personalities and was able to get the ball to everybody?
I'm going to be quite honest. Plays came in the huddle, and it depended on if the side was open, I threw you the ball. If the hole was there, I gave the ball. It wasn't a question of managing it. It is getting to the right people at the right time. And some of the times, I made bad decisions, and I'll take the blame for that. And then some of the times I made great decisions. And it's just a matter of watching the field, because I felt I wasn't an in-depth student. When the coaches wanted us to watch film, I didn't understand what to look for that I know now. I wish if I'd have known it then, the season would have been much different. Because the thing is, when you watch film, our coaches didn't teach us to analyze film as in depth as colleges. But at the same time, with more coaches, you get to have more people come in, and then they teach you. You sit down, they point to little mistakes like, you know what, you didn't have your foot pointed at where you're supposed to go, or you know what, when you read this hole, you probably should have wrote it a little bit longer, or things like that. It's the little things that the coaches work on that would make the players better. We didn't have, and I'm not blaming our coaches whatsoever, because we only had a handful of coaches, and it was a team that, like us, who was a very diverse area. Teams didn't want to come play us, let alone coaches want to come here and try to coach under us, because they didn't understand the type of mindset that we had as youngsters. We grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly, we was worried about, getting to school the next day, not getting into a fight or something like that. But the coaches dealt with that, the team dealt with that, and that's pretty much what our team built on. We were fighters. And so, our coaches, they understood that and they fed off that. And then that's what we had to feel. But the teaching part of the aspect, I felt we could have learned more if we were more in-depth in film. More in-depth with more coaches being there saying, you know what, we're going to work on this again because you did great in the game. But this little thing, this little small thing, tucking the ball as you catch it, as you turn, which way you're supposed to turn, our coaches didn't work on us with.